Welcome to the Gals Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Katie, and I'm joined by Bonnie, Leah, and Mary talking about our one cool author gal. Bonnie already talked about Cokie Roberts, Leah already talked about Deborah Kemp, and Mary already talked about Jane Austen. Thank you, ladies, for choosing people with simple-to-pronounce names.
You are very welcome.
Because at this point in
Happy
the evening, it's appreciated.
Yes, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
And all of the ladies most interesting and impressive.
Yes.
I've enjoyed it. But before we dive back in and get to know my gal,
Yes.
I want to know something random about you guys.
No.
Yes.
All right.
Because that's what we do during this part, okay?
This is the part that has been scripted. Yes.
This is my random idea for us to randomly ask a question.
I like it.
Okay. I want to know what book has changed your life the most? What book has had an impact on you?
Last episode, I talked about Power of Myth, so I feel like I need to come up with another book real quick.
Yeah. I mean,
I did change my name because of that glorious book, so...
I mean, that's fair.
Right,
It's
exactly.
fair.
Yes, but I feel like there might be
allow
another
it.
one. Okay, all right. Until I can come up with another one, show notes. It'd probably be The Power of Myth, because it really
what
was
book
when I was
that
struggling.
you've written
Oh, God.
changed your life the most?
The Belief Test was a really fun... That was my very first book
good.
that I ever did. It's a book of questions. And how it started was my friend Suhei would come over for therapy sessions, basically, for free therapy. And I would just ask her questions because she wasn't sure what she wanted to do in life. So I would just start questions. And eventually she's like, you got to write these down. These are questions that everybody should ask at some point during their life. So I wrote them down, and then she's like, now it has to be a book. And I'm like, damn it. So I just self-published it because it was really just for her. But it's such a fun book to go back to.
is.
I write my answers in pencil, and I kind of go back to them, and I'll be like, oh, wow, was I mature back then? No. Gave a
awesome.
copy to my kids. I'll do it when I'm stuck for characters. Like when I was
What would
writing
that character
screenplays.
do?
Yeah, I would be like, what would my character answer this question as? So,
You know
Belief
where
Test was
I
fun.
found your belief test most helpful?
Where?
Online dating.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
You should have
See?
given it to Bonnie.
This is
And
true.
Yeah.
Bonnie had several. Have we talked about this?
I don't know.
Bonnie.
Why are you talking about yourself in the third person?
Katie started
She's
it.
not taking full responsibility.
No.
Well, of course I would call you Bonnie.
We're talking about online dating. You always talk about yourself in the third person. Online dating.
This last go around, one of my, because I'm a freaking dork, I would ask them, who's their favorite women from history?
Yes,
It's
I like
because,
it.
that's gonna come up.
Yeah, and when they said
Right.
the Blood Countess,
Yes.
they did,
I
which
was
we
like,
discovered last
nope.
month, you're like, we're done then.
Nope.
Next.
My,
Swipe
Bathing
right.
in
Yes.
blood, no.
Swipe.
yes.
Mm. It's going to be a note for
I would
me.
also ask them if they had seen the movie. What is that?
Iron Jaw-
Passengers?
Oh, Passengers, because you
Is that
hate
what
that
it is?
movie. Yeah.
It's a good hate.
Yeah.
You're supposed to hate. That was the test of if they were like, oh, it was a good movie, or did it make you angry?
Right.
Like that
See?
was the test.
I like
of-
that. See? Yeah, for some odd reason, what did you think about the Passenger movies is not in the Belief Test for some
No.
reason.
I think because it was
But-
published before.
It
right?
was. It was like
Yeah.
2004. But maybe
Yeah.
updated
Updated
versions.
version.
But no, there could be a question in there. If you're stuck alone and everyone else is in a cryogenic sleep,
Correct.
would you wake them up to just be killing them because
Right.
you lonely?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's why I didn't see that movie, because I figured that out from the trailer, and I went, I'm sorry, what now?
Wait a minute.
It's a good movie.
The Chris Pratt movie?
Yeah, but wasn't that...
He just wakes her up because he's lonely.
I think she's just so pretty.
Wait a minute. That's Wrath of Khan.
Well, kinda, but dude version.
Oh. I was saying, that's the whole Khan, Star Trek thing.
Waking people up because they're sad.
No, he sees her one day. He got woken up just by accident. They're on a cross-galactic journey to, like, go colonize somewhere. They're all in a cryogenic sleep. Like, they head into asteroid field or something. Some malfunction. He wakes up and he's the only one there. Mm-hmm. He finds her in one of the pods, just roaming around one day, and just like, oh, she's so pretty. And he, like, reads up on her, like, profile and all this stuff. Yeah.
Creeps on her from afar.
And accidentally wakes her up, too.
My ass.
Yeah. And then he's telling all this to his little robot buddy. The robot bartender ends up, like, spilling the beans on him.
See?
And
that's why you never trust a robot.
You gotta tip the robot.
Bartender. Right?
Hello?
Pissed.
As she should be. It'll be a long car ride home.
Yeah, because they got, I don't know, like 100 and some years left till they get there, so... And they have no way of getting them back.
Yeah, it's also a death sentence, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, kudos.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
What about a book, though, Bonnie?
Yeah, what about a book that
What about a book?
your life?
I don't know if I have a book that's changed my life.
Passengers changed my life.
I don't know if it's a book that's changed my life. I read a shit ton of Greek mythology, way back in the day.
That can scar your life a little bit, because them weird.
I don't know. It was weird, because it was weird being a young adult reading this stuff. Trying to, like, associate myself with, like, which goddess am I? Like, it's an internet quiz.
Right. BuzzFeed.
And so it was, like, you know, trying to navigate that. I don't know. I love the freaking Julian May books. But I'm not sure if I can. I don't know. I think that cemented I'm a fucking nerd.
There you go.
Because I read those several times.
You're like, that's my jam.
Yeah.
My nerd jam.
I don't think I've had some kind of life-changing experience from, like, a book yet.
See? It's coming.
I don't know.
Or something. Mary, what's yours?
Well, mine is that got me on the path of being a reader is the Little House on the Prairie books.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I watched the TV show.
I love their TV show.
Yeah.
I read those books and reread those books and reread those books. And last year, I actually bought a set because I hadn't had any my sets.
They're really cool sets.
And I reread them last year.
Oh.
And I remembered why I liked them so much.
Yeah, we have a couple in the library, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad that, you know, the revisionists have gone in and, you know, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. It's like, again,
they just let it be. Yeah.
Wrote for what it was at the time.
Yeah.
And you can't go back and take your red pen and start, you know.
Exactly. It's just no better. Yeah.
Yeah, or you can't talk about this and you know, you can't do that, you know. I mean, yes, there was, you know, a scene where they did a thing with blackface. Yes, that's not cool, but they didn't really know that at the time. I mean, you know,
but we know that, and we can read it and separate ourselves to be like,
about the Indians and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, people, they're still, you know, they were...
Be smarter than the history.
Yeah, and they were, you know, when you read them, and it caused me to have a lifelong, you know, love of reading.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the big thing. So... yeah, reading those and like I said, one of my things, since, you know, the international and travel and all the other stuff is probably on the, you know, on ice for at least another year.
Right.
So next year I'm thinking, okay, well, let's see, what can I go do road trippy next year?
Yeah.
Besides going down to Florida to see my parents, is that I'm probably going to go do a road trip out to Missouri to, the Laura Ingalls Wilder museum and stuff.
Very cool.
Missouri, so
nice.
Like, yeah, that sounds like, you know. Plus, you know, you got to burn vacation,
right?
You know,
exactly.
I got a stockpile of it. You know, it's like, well, luckily for me though, you know, I took that cruise the first of the year, so I burned 2 weeks.
Right.
You know, but it's like, oh, you can do this, and you know, it's like, well, let's see, where can I go? Okay, road trip. You know, let's go check out that. But yeah, that's just kind of put me on the lifelong, you know, joy of reading.
Exactly. I would actually, because that actually reminds me probably more of a book that actually changed my life than Power of Myth. Now that I'll quickly rechange my answer. To Kill a Mockingbird. We read that in class. It was high school. And I was trying to read it. I was reading it, and I'm like, I don't get this book. I don't get it. And then we started watching the movie.
Right.
And I started crying in the middle of class, and I'm not like a big public crier at all, but I was so ashamed because I couldn't understand the book, and the movie was so beautiful that I felt terrible that I couldn't understand it. That's when I learned I was dyslexic. And so I really worked on concentrating on the page. And so to the point when I read a book, it's kind of slow and I kind of end up memorizing it. But that book really like, no, this is an important piece of, you know, literature that I want to see the book as well as, you know, the movie is great too, but I need to give the book its
well,
due.
it's like Rebecca. Now I know they just did a redo of the movie.
Yeah, Bram Stoker knew.
But the, you know, the Alfred Hitchcock version is, you know, you read that because I remember we had an English class and we did that like in middle school, and so you read the book, you saw the movie, and you just, you know, they were done so well.
Yeah, exactly.
That you understood, and like they said, I think, you know, we joked about before. It's like, oh, you know, I've never seen her. Read her books, but I've seen all her movies.
Yeah.
For Jane Austen. But I think sometimes if that's what it takes, the TV shows or the movies.
If it is the catalyst.
The catalyst to get them, you know, it's like the gateway drug. Okay, this is, you know, this is to get your gateway drug to get you. Well, you like that? Why don't you try reading the book?
Exactly.
And then
read more
got
books.
It, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like with me with Sherlock Holmes, because I had, you know, everybody knew Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
But then when I got laid up for some surgery about 7 years ago, and BBC Sherlock was out.
Yes.
But I love Benedict Cumberbatch and other things.
Yes.
And my son said, "Mom, you know, you can't get off the couch now for like 4 days."
It's a good way to spend your time.
Yeah.
though.
So he said, I, you know, went to the library, and again the library. And
Yes,
checked out
library.
the first two seasons, and then I watched him. I was like, "This is really good." And then I read the canon, and it's like,
Yes.
"Oh, I get it."
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. You
Yep.
know, it's like that when you can trigger it. So
Yeah. You get the fandom and the kernel of love.
Be it the TV shows or the movies, if it causes you to read the books,
Good.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. Katie, what's yours? What's a book that has changed your life? You're like, oh, that's right, this question.
Oh yeah, that thing.
You talking to me?
I would have to say Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut.
You love
Oh,
Vonnegut,
yeah.
I
yes.
do love Vonnegut, and that one, I feel like it gave me kind of a world view outlook, kind of a philosophy on life that I related to more than a lot of others I had been exposed to.
Yeah.
Kind of that humanist perspective.
Yeah.
It's all absurd, but we can still appreciate one another.
Exactly.
And I needed that. 'cause
Yes.
I
To
just
kind of
need
put a
little chill
motto
in my
on it.
life.
Exactly. Put a spin on it that you're like, I dig that.
It was a helpful philosophy for me. It is a helpful philosophy for me.
Were you
so.
thinking about getting a Vonnegut tattoo at one point?
Yeah. My good
Ah.
friend has one, and I had thought about it as well.
See, one of these
Now,
days.
seems not ideal, but yeah.
Yeah, I know.
One
I'm
of
just
these days.
hey, one of these days. A tattoo is forever, so
Gonna
you
have
can,
to
you know
be
you can
after
wait.
the plague, and
Right.
when I
Oh,
have
way
money,
after the plague, yeah.
So this could be.
This could be in 10 years. I got you.
decade
No,
in the
it's cool.
making.
It's all right.
Yeah, I'm not putting Jane Austen on me. Sorry.
Yeah.
There you go. I've got Wonder Woman on me. Yes.
I don't. You know, I do have a sizable Wonder Woman collection of memorabilia.
Yes,
too.
exactly.
Oh yeah, it's like there's so many. It's like, again, the Venn diagram's just getting bigger. The circles are overlapping each other. You
But
know.
it's all good. It's all
good.
good.
It's all good.
Well,
Yes. Who is your one cool
I'm
author
not
now,
going to
Katie?
tell you.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
but
okay.
You guys already know.
Okay, but
It-
we'll
it
pretend
was-
we don't.
It was Bonnie that started this game.
Okay.
This
I forget.
can you guess game. You already forgot? Oh my
forgot.
gosh.
Oh, see,
Bonnie.
there you go.
I
I'm drinking.
Yes, exactly. There's a chance we don't know.
There's
So-
alcohol involved.
This lady is super complex, as I've already alluded to. Much more than she did her life. Okay, the words are coming out.
Gotcha. There you go.
Okay.
Drinking has really been happening, guys. I told you we'd be drunker.
Well, I don't want to say she's not just an author, because those were the words that were going to come out of my mouth.
She's a
when
gal of
being
many
an-
talents.
Yeah, being an
There you go.
author is incredible.
Yeah, right?
There's no
Yep.
just an author, but
Right.
she's a woman who has had lots of different jobs during
Yes.
her life, let's say. But when she became a published writer and kind of got in the swing of writing, she started a writing ritual.
Yes.
I'm not a writer, but I'm assuming that it's fairly common
Yeah.
for writers to have, like, you know, we all have rituals for how we do things in our life, right?
Yes. To get through the day, I burn
Okay.
incense and then an effigy of. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. I know that's true. So this author, she would wake up early in the morning. She would check into a hotel room where the staff was instructed to remove any pictures from the wall.
Ah.
Then she would write on legal pads while lying on the bed with only a bottle of sherry,
Yes.
a deck of cards to play solitaire,
Okay.
a thesaurus, and a Bible.
Ah.
Is that like the Holy Trinity?
Nice. Yeah, there you go.
Sherry, the thesaurus, and Bible.
Oh my.
What would you take to a deserted island?
Right.
So she would write as such, and she would leave by early afternoon.
Mhm.
She would average 10 to 12 pages of written material a day,
Oh wow.
which she would edit down to 3 or 4 pages in the evening.
Oh, she was meticulously mean to her own words.
Oh, yeah. She said she went through this project to enchant herself.
Ah. Dun,
I still
dun,
don't
dun.
remember who it is. Still don't remember.
I have no clue.
Okay, I'm going to give you another interesting fact about this lady that I didn't learn until today. She's 6 feet tall.
Nice.
She was 6 feet.
She was 6 feet.
Whoa.
You remember, don't
I
you,
know who
Leah?
she is. Oh,
You know
yeah.
who she is.
I remember from the yellow legal pads. So
The
that's
yellow-
why I'm
okay.
like going, oh, yeah, that's right.
right.
But I didn't realize she was 6 feet tall.
She was 6 feet tall.
Look at that.
Yes,
She's
I'm
a
going to
tall
be
lady.
talking to you guys about Maya Angelou.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Exactly. Dr. Angelou.
I remember the text messages.
I didn't realize she was that tall.
Yeah, exactly,
6
right?
feet tall.
Amazing.
Which served her well.
Oh,
One of
yeah.
her earliest jobs was as a dancer. And she actually
Mm-hmm.
studied dance professionally.
She had gorgeous legs. Like her and Tina Turner. I mean, I will
The
say
legs.
Tina Turner. Like, if we're ever judging legs, Tina Turner is the queen of legs. Like,
Yes.
done. But Maya had some awesome legs.
I believe it.
Mhm.
I was listening to some poetry she was reading today that was talking about, what was it, her like piston pumping hips. And
Yes.
yeah. It's like, you know,
Mhm.
don't be mad I'm sexy.
Exactly.
So Maya was born with the name Marguerite Annie Johnson.
Not 7 names,
No,
Bonnie,
just
but
3.
a couple.
Just 3. Kind of the norm, right?
There you go. Nice.
So Maya was a nickname that her brother gave her.
Ah.
She was very, very close with her brother. He was only like 1 or 2 years older than her.
Mhm.
And so they really did go through a lot in childhood together. They started life out with their parents. I think she was born in, it might have been Arkansas. Might have
I know
been
she spent a lot
Minnesota.
of her life in
Yeah.
Arkansas
Yeah,
because she's friends with Bill Clinton because of Arkansas.
their Arkansas years. That's right. She was born in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So her parents didn't have the best relationship.
Gotcha.
And when she was just 3 years old, they decided to part ways.
Mhm.
But instead of one of them keeping the children, they put their children on a train with I think like a label, like a sticker, like, hey,
like a little
deliver these
Post-its.
kids. Yeah.
They used to mail
Yep.
kids.
Some
Yeah.
stamp. I
They
know.
used to
Literally.
mail kids because it was cheaper.
Terrifying, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, with the directions to deliver them to their grandmother's house in Arkansas.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
So she was 3 when that experience happened, which would have her brother like maybe be 5 at the most. And they traveled from, at that point, they were living with their parents in California.
Oh, so
Oh
they went
my.
California to Arkansas?
California to Arkansas on the train.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I don't even think my kid goes upstairs without my assistance.
Right,
And he's
exactly.
9.
Yeah, that's fair. Right.
Sorry,
Well,
exactly.
Johnny.
I used to put my sons on planes to go see their grandma in Florida, but they were little.
Yeah.
They weren't 3 and 5.
And a
but
lot
they
of times
Yeah.
the stewardess
They
were
were
aware of
7
that.
and
Yeah, they're like,
9.
here, yeah.
and I had to pay extra for them to kind of keep an eye on them. But
To
it was
be
like
babysat.
a 2 mile. It was basically a 2-hour bus ride.
Right.
That was back in the day where you could actually pick them up at the gate. too,
Yeah,
so.
very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I get worried about leaving my dog alone at the house.
like, true story. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Let alone sending kids anywhere.
So, well, after the treacherous, well, I don't know that it was treacherous, but let's call it that.
Let's
the
call it
treacherous
that, yeah.
train ride.
Right.
They arrived at their grandmother's house and actually had many good years there with their grandma.
Cool.
Even though it was like Great Depression era time. But their grandma and uncle owned a general store.
Mhm.
She has lots of fond memories of the store.
Aw.
Yeah, if you ever get on YouTube, you can fall into like hours of listening to her talk about different things, and it's all amazing.
Exactly.
But then when she turned 7, they decided to send her back to live with her mom, her and her brother Bailey.
Gotcha.
So they went to live with her mother. And unfortunately, while she was at her mom's house, she was raped by her mom's boyfriend.
Oh, no.
Right.
So, and this floored me too, because I've never dug into who is Maya Angelou.
Mhm.
But that experience actually led to her being mute for 5 years.
Yeah.
She did not speak for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that incredible? That was,
Yeah. That's traumatic,
Yeah.
is what that is. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
traumatic.
There's some kind of famous quotes about like her speaking out about it led to
Yes,
his
she felt
death.
like saying his name led to
Yeah.
him dying. That just by
Yeah.
speaking his name out into the world, she caused his death.
Yeah.
So his probably justified death.
I know, it's
because-
called karma. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I understand. You know, she was little.
Because he
It was horrific.
he was convicted for what he did to her.
Gotcha.
But he only spent 1 day in jail,
Eh.
and he was found the next day kicked to death.
Ooh. So that's why she
yeah.
felt responsible.
Yes, that
of
is
some
why she felt
kind,
responsible
which she
for
was
that.
not responsible.
No,
but
my
yeah.
dad was a sheriff's deputy, and they used to have to, kind of keep those kind of prisoners away from the general population.
right, yeah,
But if they were really a problem, they would just kind of tell them what happened and then kind of turn away.
right, exactly.
Jailhouse justice.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Don't mess with kids and then
Yep.
go to jail and expect it to be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I was seeing her quote about it. She said, "I thought my voice killed him. I killed that man because I told his name. And then I thought I would never speak again because my voice would kill anyone."
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what she said about her remembering that experience. But she also talks about how during those 5 years that she was mute, that she feels like her brain almost reconfigured differently.
Yeah.
And because she wasn't speaking, she was able to develop like her sense of memory, her sense of like even just language development, because she was able to remember so much, her
Yeah.
capacity to remember things.
She was kind of more taking things in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just kind of
Taking it all.
absorbing everything around her instead
Yeah.
of expelling it. Yeah.
And it was actually her love of writing, and particularly her love of poetry, that led to her being able to speak again.
Yeah.
Because she had a teacher, Mrs. Flowers, that was concerned and interested in her, kind of took her under her wing, and gave her access to like all the books
Yes.
at school. It was
All the
like,
books.
read all the books. She read Shakespeare, memorized Shakespeare,
Yes.
so many other poets. And I think from what I was hearing on like the YouTube interviews of people that knew Maya Angelou, basically the teacher challenged her and said, like, you can't really say you love poetry if you do not speak poetry.
To get her to talk.
Yeah.
See?
Yes. So.
Nice.
And then, believe it or not that many years later, from when she had her period of being mute, she actually became a singer.
Yay!
Right?
See,
Finding and using your voice.
she was storing it up.
Right. So after the horrific event, she did move back with her grandma, and things were good there. But unfortunately, this was also the South.
Yeah.
Yes, during
South was what it was.
what was that, like? Probably the
Is what it is.
50s.
30s.
Oh, okay. Even
Yeah.
30s and 40s.
30s.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, 40s probably.
Before Jim, I mean, it was still
Late
heavy
30s,
Jim Crow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah.
So they had a few good years with grandma. But her brother Bailey, like her grandma caught wind that what was expected is when a young black man walks down the street, if a white woman, a white man is coming by, they will get off the sidewalk or the street and move out of their way and defer to them.
Right.
And grandma found out that Bailey was not doing that.
Oh.
Bailey actually came across somebody who had been hanged, like after the event happened, and that had a huge impression on him. And he was like, "No," kind of making a stand.
Gotcha.
So
Protesting in his own
yeah,
way.
So
yeah,
Maya's
yeah.
grandma was so scared about what this could lead to,
Yeah.
his defiance, that they actually went back to California to live with their mom
Gotcha.
for his safety.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
To survive the South.
Right. So
Oof.
she definitely had like some very strong feelings towards the South. I think it wasn't until the 80s
Gotcha.
that she ever went back to the South, and she swore she never would.
Yeah, right?
But right. So on to happier things about what a groundbreaking, just shattering of what would you call that? Role shattering
Yeah.
person Maya Angelou was.
Yeah.
She moved to California, started going to school there, decided she wanted a job at like 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't that many opportunities for young African American girls at the
Yeah.
time to get jobs. And it was extremely unheard of for anyone who was black, let alone a black woman, to be a streetcar operator in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So
Like
what-
the trolley car
Right,
operators.
trolley cars.
Oh,
So-
fun.
So what job did Maya want?
Of course she wanted the job she
Yeah.
couldn't have.
Well, she says she wanted the job because they got to wear really cool uniforms.
Ah, there you go. Classy.
Yeah,
I
and
like
that
it.
in her interview, she expressed that
Toot
that was
toot
part
goes
of
the
it.
trolley.
Yeah. And they also, when they asked what experience she had, she said she was the personal chauffeur of, and I forget her grandma's name, but she like said her grandma's name. She was
Oh,
her
there you
grandma's
go.
personal
Mm.
chauffeur.
I like
That
it.
was her
She's
experience.
not really lying.
But of course, she got the job.
Sweet.
She absolutely got the job as
Oh.
streetcar operator.
Wasn't
So
Was it something like she was the very first female trolley car operator or something like that? She
I
held?
know she was the first black one.
Okay,
and yeah,
gotcha. There was some kind of record that she held
right.
as a San Francisco trolley operator, and I was just like, "Good on you, girl."
Right. Well,
A random factoid for some reason that stuck in there about my San
right.
Francisco
She
trolley.
has like 50 honorary degrees, dozens of
Right.
awards. But yeah, I remember reading that too online, that she also has been recognized by like the Transportation Society for this time that she was a streetcar operator.
I love it.
Right. So she did that while attending school. She also during this time became pregnant.
Gotcha.
As a very young girl, 16 at the time.
Oof. Yeah.
But was determined she wanted to finish school. So she hid her pregnancy from her mother and from everybody until after she
I
graduated.
don't understand how you hide a pregnancy. I really don't know how you do it.
I mean, when you're 6 feet tall, maybe that's a little
Maybe.
easier, right? You're like stretching
Because,
it out.
well, yeah, exactly. It's got to be you're hiding it somewhere, everywhere.
Where's the baby?
You're right.
I don't. Yeah. Well, I'm wondering timeline wise if like she found out, but she didn't tell anybody until after she graduated, and by then she wouldn't have been showing. You know what I mean?
Right,
Maybe
right,
that's
okay.
like
Yeah.
maybe
yeah.
that's more the deal.
Gotcha.
Yes. So anyway, she gave birth at 17 to her one and only child, Guy Johnson.
Mhm.
And then like she just she had good sweet mothering from her grandma.
Yeah.
So she did that with her son, and he went everywhere with her,
Mhm.
and they went everywhere.
Exactly.
She, I think she was still in California when she had him. She studied ballet, and then she was invited to study dance. I don't know if it was modern or calypso, but some kind of dance in New York.
Okay.
And then she went back to California and was a calypso dancer.
Ah.
So she also, like, during that time married, and that's where the name Angelou comes from.
Gotcha.
She married a Greek man.
Mm.
So they had an interracial relationship, which is also like
Nice.
super frowned upon back in the day.
Right.
The good old days.
Oh,
So-
no.
Yeah.
Even though it shouldn't be.
Right. So she's been married twice, and both marriages were pretty short marriages.
Gotcha.
I'm just thinking like they couldn't keep up with her.
Yeah,
Probably.
that's what
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. She had
They
shit
just-
to do.
Right. She was not.
She's an independent woman.
Yeah, she wasn't sitting at home,
No.
eating bonbons and
No.
Exactly.
No. She had stuff to do during this period.
Dancing
like
and right.
I was trying to absorb this whole legacy that is her life.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's all jumbled in my head because she did so many things, and I'm like, I don't know which one came first or after. Or it was like,
right. Or
but every-
simultaneous.
yeah,
I
but
feel
they
like-
do them all at the same time.
right. But I feel like everything led to each other in like a really
Yeah.
beautiful way.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I could like lay it out with like string and a timeline, and
Right.
sort
With
of
the
a
little red
crazy
string
way,
and the pins. Yeah.
Yeah. it would all make sense, and you guys would love it. So
Yeah.
I will add in the show notes some of the YouTube videos because
yes.
I'm just gonna throw that out there for you guys all the time because I'm a pretty poor storyteller.
no,
so
you're good. You're good.
you can take it from some professionals. But she did dancing, and then she transitioned to singing, and she had a good deal of success, and she worked with really famous people.
Yeah.
Not everything took off like in a really crazy way. Like she did an Al and Rita with modern dancing and all of this, and they were like, son Guy. Later on in her life, she moves to Hawaii to be a singer. And she had success for a while, but then people stopped coming to see her sing. And her son was like, that's because she wasn't a singer. There were actual, like, really good singers around.
I see, right. They were coming to see everybody else.
But she sang in, like, this
nice
West African type.
Yeah, like cadence and low.
Cadence,
yeah, it was really pretty, I thought. Yeah.
Yes,
but it was unique. Yeah,
Very
it wasn't
unique.
pop.
But during this time, it's definitely a time of upheaval, and like we're getting into like the 50s, into her adulthood with the civil rights, and all the activists and artists are coming together.
Yeah.
So she's friends with famous artists and musicians, but she's also friends with civil rights activists.
Yeah.
She was good friends with Martin Luther King Jr. She even did a special performance to raise money.
Yeah.
For the Southern
Southern
Christian Conference.
Yes.
I know. I don't think that's even right, but yeah.
Oh, the Southern Leadership Conference.
I'm not
there
a
it is.
history buff. I'm sorry, guys.
It's totally fine.
But her success at that actually led to her having a position. She was working on in New York, but she was like,
yeah,
I think like the main person in charge from that area.
Yeah.
So then she met a man.
Ooh.
Yes, and she decided to move with him to Egypt.
Like you do.
Like you do. So she was doing the civil rights activist, but then she's like, let's hop over to Africa for a while.
Yeah.
And then she got involved in the anti-colonization of Africa. And she, after she broke up with the dude, moved to Ghana.
Yes.
And taught classes in Ghana and met Malcolm X.
Yes.
Yes. And
That's
they
my
had a
favorite part
beautiful
of her story.
relationship.
I freaking
Yeah,
love Malcolm
although-
X though. But yeah, their
so
story,
she's
yeah.
been in Africa for 4 years now, and met Malcolm X and had this great connection with him. Like, loved his ideas, fully supported him, and decided because of him she would move back to the United States.
Yeah.
And become part of the civil rights movement again in the United States.
And help him too,
Help
because
him, yeah.
he was right. Sorry, I'm Malcolm X
Yeah,
obsessed.
do it.
He was had just gone to Mecca for the first time and was praying with white men and black men and realized that all the stuff that he had been preaching about separatism was wrong. And he was starting to change his mind, and he stopped and he visited Maya, and they just had this intellectual brouhaha about Islam and about life and about segregation. And it was right when Malcolm X was changing his mind about how civil rights could go forward and how black power could go forward. And it was really this enlightening thing. And she's like, I'm totally in. And then what happened, Katie?
Then she came back to the United States, and I think it was literally 2 days later Malcolm X was assassinated.
Yeah. Yeah. He was about to make a big announcement of his formal plans, and he was killed. Yeah. And it devastated her. Didn't she almost become mute again?
Yeah, I mean, it had a huge impact on her.
Yeah.
They also talk, like, people who have really studied her about how her legacy is very nomadic.
Yeah.
Oh, very much,
West
yeah.
Coast, East Coast. She's out of the country. She toured for a while in her dancing troupe in Europe.
Yeah.
She's
Just worldly.
Right. And every time, like, the stars were kind of aligning and she was going to settle down somewhere and devote to a project, a lot of it the civil rights project, something tragic would happen.
Yeah.
So this happened with Malcolm X, and she was so upset and so depressed. She saw her brother Bailey, and he's like, you have to do something to get through this. He goes, that's when he said, go to Hawaii and sing.
Oh, okay.
It's like, just go to Hawaii. They have
There
an
you
aunt
go.
there. Go to Hawaii and sing.
Aw, see,
And so that's what she did. And that's when her son Guy was talking about how she's not here.
But hey, got her
So
out of it.
after she went to Hawaii,
Well, it was therapeutic.
repaired her soul a little
Yes.
bit. I wish I could remember the singer who was like playing down the street. It's a famous one too.
It was like Harry Belafonte or something
no,
like
it's
that.
another woman.
Oh, okay.
Probably
wasn't like a Josephine Baker or
find
anything
it
like
later.
that. Okay,
No,
all right, no
no,
worries.
But so after her crowd left her in Hawaii,
Yeah.
it was timing wise. Actually, Martin Luther King Jr. reached out to her and was like, "Hey, I need you to help me. I need your help and support. I'm going to do this. What is it? Parade for the Poor.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this big project. I have to raise money for it. I need you to go around to all of the churches and be like, can you just give me one day of your collections?
Yeah.
One day, one time a year, all of your collections, so we can raise this money.
Yeah.
He told her that that black men like a pretty woman,
Yes.
so she was the one to do it.
Yeah. There you go. Well, she had a soft voice, a
Personality.
gentle demeanor. She was
Right?
worldly, yes.
I mean, she has so much intrigue to her, I feel like.
Yeah.
She just, you want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
But, so she told King that she would do this,
Mhm.
but that she wanted to wait until after her birthday to start.
Right.
Because she wanted to talk to her family and tell them the new plan of what she's going to be doing and celebrate her birthday with her family. So you can see on YouTube her recalling this moment.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of gave me goosebumps, but it was her birthday, and she was cooking up all the food for her family for this big celebration they were going to have. And a close friend of hers called and said, like, have you, like, been called? Have you heard the news?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
And she's like, what? And she goes, like, stay away from the phone. I'm coming right over. And she comes in and lets her know that King has been assassinated
On her birthday.
on her birthday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her family recalls that she didn't celebrate her birthday for many, many years and would
Oh,
actually
really?
spend it with Martin Luther King Jr.'s widow,
Oh, with Coretta.
Coretta. hmm
Oh.
Wow.
She actually maintained really close friendship with Coretta and Malcolm X's widow as well.
Yes.
They're quite
Betty
a powerful
Shabazz.
trio.
Sorry, I'm a
Yeah.
geek.
No.
I'm weird.
I find it amazing that you know that. And
I'm so in
like,
love with Malcolm X. It's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain.
Right. So there she was again, like the stars were aligning. She was ready to settle down into this
And
project, and then
the world turns upside down. That's probably the best way that I can
Yep.
describe it.
Right.
Aw.
So now I'm like really talking about her travel and all of these different things she had, and I haven't really touched on the writing. A lot of that was really plugged in and happened when she was in New York.
Gotcha.
She was really talking to a lot of intellectuals there in Harlem, and they were really encouraging her to put words down on paper, to be
Yeah.
a writer, to write. And so that was kind of it. And so in between all of this, I think she's always like writing and thinking about writing. And then, of course, her first autobiography, Why the Caged Bird Sings.
Yep.
Came out. When was that it came out? Is it like the 70s?
I want
or
to say it's the
60s?
70s, but I'm not sure.
Right.
Feels right.
Like
I know
I
it's
said,
about
there's
her
just so
childhood.
much in there. Oh.
Yeah. 'Cause she
You'll-
has 7
have
of
you
them.
have you heard this, Leah? Because you'll love this.
Yeah.
So released in 1972, Angelou's Georgia, Georgia, produced by a Swedish film company and filmed in Sweden, was the first screenplay written by a black woman.
Yes.
She's written a screenplay.
I know, and she's
Right?
the first, and I'm like going, the first?
Right.
Yeah.
She wrote the film soundtrack despite having she wrote the soundtrack.
Yeah, because she was
Didn't
just
very
in. She's
input,
like,
yeah.
no, this music will not do, and then just decided on a weekend to just
that.
make a soundtrack for it because she's Maya Angelou.
Right. So can you
Because she
absorb
can.
all I'm
She
seeing
sets
and reading
records
right now?
everywhere.
Right. What was it she wrote?
She did like 7 biographies, and she did different parts of her life.
Right, and she also did, as far as entertainment, a 10-part docu-series called Blacks, Blues, Black.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool, too.
I've only seen little bits of that, and I've wanted to try to find the whole thing. It was like a PBS like series, so it's
Right.
a little harder to
miniseries.
find. Yeah.
Did you guys know that she was in Roots?
Yes.
I knew that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thought that was really cool, too.
Yes.
Just a cool tidbit for everybody out there. So really, it was her academic career and her writing that made her return to the South for the first time after so many years of leaving Arkansas. It was in the early 80s that she was offered a lifetime Reynolds professorship. A professorship.
There you go.
I have my pipe in, see?
Exactly right.
A
Exactly.
professorship.
Just your surgery.
Of American Studies at Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So she became one of the few full-time African-American professors and taught there.
Yeah.
So and that kind
Earning
of
those
like
doctorates.
settled in there.
50 of them.
Yeah, right. And then she would just like lecture everywhere and be involved in
where do you
everything.
hang 50
and-
doctorates?
I know, right? I think you just put them in like a pamphlet, like a little flippy book.
So,
Little page
You
protectors.
could wallpaper a room.
Right.
as if we need more trivia, in 1993, Angelou recited her poem on the pulse of morning at the presidential inauguration of Bill Clinton, becoming the first poet to make an inaugural recitation since Robert Frost at John F. Kennedy's inauguration.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful
Yes.
poem, too. I like that poem.
Right. So anyway, there's so much info, and there's like travel and tragedy. And did you guys know that her grandson was basically kidnapped by his mom and missing from her life for 4 years?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
So her only son, Guy, I believe, just has one son. And when his ex was doing visitation, just disappeared with him, and they had to hire private detectives and to try to track her down, and did not get to see him for 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
She's dealt with
Oh.
some tragedy.
Right.
And
but
triumphs.
then rises back from it.
Right.
And it's like, hey.
Like a phoenix.
Right.
Yeah. Over and over and over again.
And
yeah.
I think that's just very much a theme of her life. And you can definitely find lots of inspirational quotes by her and different, just kind of her own rules and thoughts for herself on life. And they're very, very awesome. So
Exactly.
I will remember to get Leah some goodies for the show notes. You
Well,
were going to
why
tell
did
us
you-
a Tupac story, though.
Oh gosh.
Let's close it down on that.
Oh, you want to close it with the Tupac story? This is always one of my. I don't know why I love this story, but it cracks my ass up. And I'll put it. I will also put a link in the show notes of actually Maya telling it because she tells everything better. But she was on the set. She was friends with the director is John. It's not John Livingston, but she was friends with the director on Poetic Justice. And they wanted to work together, and Janet Jackson was in the movie, and Tupac was in the movie. But this was like, Tupac was really only known on the rap circuit. He hadn't necessarily broke out as kind of like a universal, name yet. So basically, he was the thug on set. And Maya showed up on set, and this gentleman, Tupac Shakur, was throwing around the N-word and was picking fights with somebody on set and basically being a thug. And Maya took him to the side and says, "Has anyone ever told you, sir, that you are blessed?" And she gives him this talk down of, you are here because of your ancestors being so strong and so wise and so proud of you that you can now exist on this earth, that your ancestors have gone through so much for you. And you are using that word and you are picking fights with your fellow brothers. How dare you? You are better than that. And she totally gave him a talking to. So much so that Tupac's mother, who was in the Black Panthers, called her and said, "You have changed my son. What did you tell him?" And she's like, "I just told him that he is loved and that his ancestors can be proud of him if he allowed it." And Janet Jackson hears about this story, runs out of her tree, be like, oh my God, did you really just tell that to Tupac Shakur? And she's like, I have no idea what a Tupac, what a 3-Pac, what a 4-Pac is. What are you talking about? Maya had no idea. She just saw him as a person who could do better. And he did better after that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So
I love the Tupac story. John Singleton. Sorry, there we go. John Singleton was always a big fan of Maya Angelou and had her in the movie for a one-day role. So, yeah. Poetic justice. Because it's about poetry, y'all. So you gotta put Maya in it, right? Even if it's for one day.
Absolutely. For the
I agree.
100th time, I'm going to tell you guys. Well, that wraps it up for Author Gal Month. Stay tuned next Monday because it's our next Monday.
Oh, is it next Monday?
You and Bonnie
I did
bloodbath fight over who gets to do the 100th episode.
Oh.
It's gonna be
Uh-oh,
the first
throwdowns.
one.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'll
I think
bow
it should
out
be
next.
special. I think we should just do some kind of special episode.
We were supposed to do some kind of like wacky question episode.
We were.
I know
We were
it was,
supposed to
like,
do the secret
private.
podcast.
It was supposed to be private, but maybe it should just be
Exactly.
our 100th podcast.
I think
People
so.
understand.
Exactly.
It's an idea.
I'm just saying.
So.
Well, we could get together and we could do a half and half.
Maybe.
Half of it's the secret one and half of it's the 100th
Yeah,
one.
there you go. So stay tuned for next Monday when we have our 100th episode.
Woo! 100 years
So-
young.
Till next time, month.
Till next time. Yes.
Till next time. Good evening, because I assume you're listening to the soothing
Always.
sounds of my voice
In the evening
in
times.
the evening. Good night and goodbye.
For show notes, links, and images from this week's show, visit galsguide.org. Want exclusive stuff like deleted bits and major bloopers? Become a Gals Guide patron today. Thanks for listening.